Ready to go at 7 p.m.?
I'm ready, I'll get caught up.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m., February 22nd, 2023, and we're convening a regular meeting of the Cog Heights Schools Board of Education. Mr. Muccia, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Decker.
Here.
Mrs. Etter.
Here.
Mr. Suchaki.
Here.
Ms. Prouse.
Here.
Mr. Dobbins.
Here, 5 present, none absent. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. The board values and encourages public comment on education issues. Anyone having an interest in the actions of the board may participate during the public comments portion of this meeting. Please identify yourself on the sign-in sheet that Mr. Young has. A copy of the board meeting agenda is available to review on our school district's website. And please silence your cell phones during our meeting. And will you now join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So may I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please?
So moved.
Ms. Etter moves. I'll second. Is there any discussion, changes, additions, Mr. Mucci or Mr. Evans? None? Okay. Well, let's move to a vote then, please.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Ms. Prouse.
The motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item number 3, which would be comments from the public. And we have a blank sign-in sheet, so I'm going to take that as that we are not going to have any public comments this evening. No one signed in. And so with that, I'm moving on to agenda item number 4, and I'm going to turn the program over to Mr. Evans.
And I have a resolution for our staff spotlight for the month of February. Whereas the Cog Heights School District has been fortunate to have a dedicated staff committed to the mission of the district, and whereas Kelsey Healy is dedicated to being the best educator she can be for her students and has a level of energy and enthusiasm that inspires all those around her at CHES, and whereas Mrs. Healy and her pre-kindergarten program is often our family's first educational experience at CHES, and she makes it extremely easy for families to fall in love with our school, and whereas Kelsey Healy not only makes an impression in the classroom, but she has an amazing home connection with our families, and whereas parents easily trust Mrs. Healy with their most precious gifts, their young children, and whereas Kelsey Healy is an advocate for all of her students and makes sure all of her students have everything they need to be successful, and whereas Mrs. Healy, along with her pre-K team, worked tirelessly to earn a 5-star distinction for the Ohio Step Up to Quality program, and whereas Kelsey Healy not only helps enrich the lives of her students with her extensive knowledge and education, but she supports fellow teachers as well as with advice on best practices and strategies for optimal learning, and whereas Mrs. Healy has an amazing demeanor with the students, she is patient, calm, warm and caring, positive and engaging, and therefore be it resolved that the Cuyahoga Heights Board of Education congratulates Kelsey Healy on her February 22nd, 2023 selection to the Cuyahoga Heights Schools Staff Spotlight. I ask that that resolution be approved by the Board of Education.
Great, thank you, Mr. Evans. And may I have a motion to approve this month's staff spotlight, please?
So moved.
Mr. Suchaki moves.
Second.
Ms. Etter seconds. I think the
And-
resolution speaks very highly of Ms. Healy, and I express my personal appreciation.
She was not able to make it, so I'm going to embarrass her appropriately at the next elementary staff meeting. And I was going to withhold a story, but now I'm going to tell the story at that staff meeting, so she's done. No, I'm teasing, but no, Mrs. Healy is a phenomenal teacher. Our pre-K program is second to none. And one comment about our pre-K program, one of the things that many of the people in the room know as a longtime member of this district, our pre-K program has been in existence at Cuyahoga Heights since the mid-1960s, and it's a core value that we have here. It's one of our core examples of the success that we have at Cuyahoga Heights, so much so that literally the state of Ohio has kind of taken on the initiative to make sure pre-K exists in every school district throughout the state of Ohio and is working on that. We've had it here for almost 40 years. We know what a value it is to our students, and Mrs. Healy does a fantastic job of getting those students started, and just a great, great job there. So congratulations to Mrs. Healy.
Thank you. May we now move to a vote then, please?
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Ms. Prowse?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, Ms. Healy. Moving on to agenda item number 5, the presentations, and I turn it again over to Mr. Evans.
Students of the month, and we'll start off with Mr. Dtre with the high school students.
Thank you. We'd like to recognize our students of the month from both the high school and the middle school this evening. And I will start with our senior, Sarah Youngless. Sarah Youngless, if you're here, please come on down. Sarah's here with her parents, Christine and Jay. She has 2 younger siblings and has been attending Cuyahoga Heights since kindergarten. She resides in Brooklyn Heights along with her 2 dogs, a cat, and a pet gecko. She is an active member of the Spanish Club, Drama Club, Yearbook, Student Council, and National Honor Society. Something interesting that I learned about Sarah today was that she knows the Dewey Decimal System. That's kind of a antiquated thing. I remember seeing when I first got here the drawers being taken away. But what I found out is she's an expert at it because she works at the Parma Snow Library as a page, putting stuff back on shelf and getting things for others. Her favorite subject in school is science, and she aspires to be a zoologist after attending college. Sarah received 2 nominations from her teachers, and here is what they wrote. How has Sarah never been Student of the Month before? I will say that I have never nominated her prior because I had always just assumed that she was Student of the Month somewhere during her freshman year. That's how great of a kid she is. This is my 3rd year being blessed with having Sarah in my class. In 9th grade, when I had her in honors biology, she was a young, quiet student, still learning the ropes of high school and studying for a full load of honors classes. About a quarter of the way through that year, she figured something out and ended up with all A's. In the 11th grade, I had Sarah in AP Biology, and she was such an amazing asset to have in that class. She helped others always with a witty comment to make others laugh, and she truly came out of her shell from that time I had her as a freshman. She became one of my go-to students. This year, her senior year, I have her in my genetics class. She just keeps getting better and better each year I have her. Always at the top of the class, always straight A's, always cheerful, and always helpful. Always making others laugh. She is truly a joy to have in class each day and the type of student whose absence is felt if she is homesick. I will truly miss Sarah next year when she leaves me for good to pursue college. And another teacher wrote, I nominate Sarah Youngless due to her stellar work ethic. She has a challenging course load and is involved in a lot of school activities and holds an outside job on top of everything. She is polite and has a kind demeanor and is mature. Sarah is another senior who I am very surprised has not yet been nominated for Student of the Month. She needs to be named Student of the Month because she truly deserves it. Congratulations, Sarah Youngless, Student of the Month. Next up, Student of the Month from the junior class is Lauren Cattler. Lauren, please come forward. Lauren is here with her mother, Carla, and she and her family reside in Valley View. She has attended Cuyahoga Heights since kindergarten as well. Her dad, her uncles, her aunt, and her older sibling are all alumni of Cuyahoga Heights. Her favorite subject in school is science, and she wants to become a pediatric nurse. Lauren is on the cheerleading and track teams, and last fall she was captain of the cross-country team. She is also in the marching band, Spanish Club, and National Honor Society. Outside of school, she is in the Girl Scouts and spends her free time volunteering, doing crafts, or running. Here is what her teachers wrote. I nominate Lauren Cattler for her outstanding effort in Algebra 2 during 8th period class. She comes to class every day with a great attitude. She is friendly to everyone and lifts the spirits of the entire class. Lauren makes it easier for everyone to battle through a tough class towards the end of each school day. Congratulations, Lauren. Our 10th grade recipient could not join us here tonight. Her name is Ariana Rebella. She is the daughter of Lindsay and Armit Rebella, and she is a resident of Brooklyn Heights. She has attended Cuyahoga Heights as well since her kindergarten year. Ariana was nominated by 2 teachers, and here is what they wrote. Ariana has high expectations of herself and works hard to achieve her goals. She has improved each quarter and sets an excellent example for her classmates. Ariana has a great attitude and is an asset in our class. And another teacher wrote, Ariana has worked very hard to improve her performance in algebra. She sets high expectations for herself and does not get discouraged easily. She is a great role model for the other students in the class. Congratulations, Ariana. Our 9th grade Student of the Month for February is Camden Connell. Please come forward. Camden's parents are Kim Sweeney and Leonard Connell. They live in Valley View along with their 2 dogs, 2 cats, and get this, 2 pet rats. Okay. Camden has attended Cuyahoga Heights since kindergarten, and she also, as well, and she has 2 older siblings who are also alumni of the district. They enjoy reading and writing, and their favorite subject in school is French and reading. Camden is on the school's volleyball team and bowling team, and is a member of the drama club and serves as the vice president of the French club. Something interesting that I learned about Camden today is that Camden plays the ukulele and is self-taught. Camden hopes to have a career as a counselor or a therapist someday. Here is what Camden's teachers wrote. This month, I want to nominate Camden Connell for the February Student of the Month. Camden comes to class, comes every day, and greets me with a friendly salut. From the moment they walk in the classroom, they are giving me their full attention and are raising their hand to participate and practice the language. Camden fully understands the best way to learn is by doing, and they exemplify this each and every day. Camden not only cares about a grade, but they care about the learning and the excellence to absorb as much as they can. Camden has also earned a spot as a French club officer, serving this year as the French club's first vice president, and is leading our social committee. Their enthusiasm is truly infectious. Congratulations, Camden. From the middle school, the 8th grade Student of the Month for February is Sarah Weber. Please come forward. Sarah is here tonight with her parents, Debbie and Brian. She has an older brother who is a senior, and the family lives in Parma. This is Sarah's first year at Cuyahoga Heights. Her favorite subject is English, and outside of school, she participates in competitive dance. When asked where she'd like to see herself in 10 years, Sarah says she'd like to become a crime scene investigator. Here is what her teachers wrote. Sarah Weber is our 8th grade Student of the Month. Sarah has shown responsibility both in and out of the classroom this year. She comes to school every day with the materials and attitude needed to learn. And until recently, you had perfect attendance. Sorry about that. Sarah is new to Cuyahoga Heights Middle School this year and has been a welcomed addition to the class of 2027. Her positive attitude is consistently shown inside and outside the classroom. Keep it up, and congratulations, Sarah. We are very proud of you. Congratulations, Sarah. From the 7th grade, the Student of the Month is Ava Graw. Please come forward. Ava is here tonight with her father, Tommy. She is a resident of Cleveland and has 2 dogs. Like myself, she has 2 pugs. She has been attending Cuyahoga Heights since the 5th grade, and her favorite subject in school is history. Outside of school, she enjoys painting, sculpting, and riding horses. She would like to pursue that interest as an equestrian or a professional riding instructor. Here is what her teachers wrote in her nomination. Ava Graw is our 7th grade Student of the Month. Ava shows responsibility by taking ownership of her learning. She acknowledges that she holds the power to choose her attitude and mindset and comes to school every day with a positive one. We are very proud of all she has accomplished this year and are excited to see what is to come. Keep up the great work, and congratulations, Ava. And from the 6th grade, the Student of the Month for February, Anthony Snyder. Please come forward. Anthony is here tonight with his parents, Mary and Brian Snyder. He is a resident of Valley View, and he has an older brother and younger sister who are also both Cuyahoga Heights students. Anthony shared that his mom and his aunt are both alumni of Cuyahoga Heights. His favorite subject in school is math, and he plays basketball. Just came from practice, didn't you? Football, soccer, and baseball, and wishes to continue that for the Red Wolves. Here's what his teachers wrote on his nomination. Responsibility means answerable or accountable for something within one's power, control, or management. 6th grader Anthony Snyder exemplifies responsibility every day by the way he carries himself in physical education. Anthony always brings his materials he needs to class and is prepared to participate. He tries hard in everything he does. Anthony also takes responsibility with class equipment and his willingness to help other students perform better in class. We really appreciate his hard work throughout the quarter. Congratulations, Anthony. Keep it up. And now we'll have Mr. Kiefer come up for the Students of the Month from the elementary school.
Good evening, School Board, Mr. Evans, and family and guests that are with us this evening. I have the honor to acknowledge the Student of the Month from 1st grade this year, and I'd like to introduce the wonderful 1st grade team that are with us this evening for showing up and supporting their 2 students, because that's just the type of people they are. So when I call your name, come forward. I'm going to start with ladies first. So come on down, Cadence. First was Cadence Wilson. Cadence and her family reside in Brooklyn Heights. She has a sister, Maya, who I also know, who's in 5th grade. Brother Spencer, who's 4. He's back there. I see him smiling. And, of course, Mom and Dad are here. Okay, now for the animals. This is going to take a while, won't it? All right, so we have 7 cats she starts with, and then she goes, no, I take care of 1, but so that makes 8. So she neglects the other 7. I got to figure that one out. She didn't explain that to me. And then we have the dog king, 2 goldfish, 2 black and gray goldfish. 1 has brown and a blue eye. I'm not sure. I wonder who's watching the animals this evening. Her favorite subjects are science, which is very interesting, she says, of course, with Mrs. Curry. And she enjoys math as well. Favorite essentials, or as we call them, specials. She loves to go to all art, music, and gym, all 3 of them. Outside of school, she loves to play basketball. I believe she says you live on a cul-de-sac, so it's a very safe place to play for the neighborhood kids, and that's what she likes about that. Growing up, she says she'd like to become a teacher. Come back, I'll hire you someday, young lady. And her message to her parents this evening was very special, of course, a special thank you for being really nice and helpful. And when it's cold outside, you give her a coat, which is real sweet. And she knows that because I make her put that on going to the bus each day. And Dad gets to play with us outside. She finds that to be very special. Her teachers would like to acknowledge her in many different ways. And they are saying, those young ladies over there, are so excited to nominate Cadence Wilson as Student of the Month for February. The 1st grade team constantly sees Cadence spreading kindness around the school. When a friend needs someone to play with at recess, Cadence is the first person to invite them to play with her. If another student needs help, Cadence will go over without being asked and help them problem solve. If a friend is feeling sad, she will compliment them and help them feel better. She shows leadership in the classroom by putting her best foot forward, and she always accepts challenges, big and small. Even when things get hard, she pushes through and is proud of her accomplishments. She is polite to her classmates and teachers and is always making each other smile. That I can see as well. In the lunch line the other day, I was deep in thought, and she goes, "Mr. Kiefer, smile." And I said, right? Okay, and she's such a ray of sunshine that spreads positivity throughout the whole school. We're very proud to have Cadence represent our school and first grade class as the Student of the Month for February. Fantastic work, Cadence. And your teachers have a certificate in here. Congratulations. All right, if you have a seat right here, we're going to get a picture taken too. Okay, Michael. Our second Citizen of the Month, you can come down now. Come on, Mike. Is Michael Byer. What? Okay. All right. Secret time. All right. So Michael is from Brooklyn Heights here, and Ken and Nora are with him this evening. We're very special people in Michael's life. He also has two dogs named Jenny and Max, right?
Jenny and Lucy.
Jenny, that's what I wrote, Lucy. Okay. He loves, his favorite subject at school is math. Once again, something going on down there in first grade, especially Reflex. And Reflex is a program where you practice your facts in the elementary school. Favorite essentials or specials or gym because we do fun things in the gym. And you can scream and run around. Outside of school, he likes to play with her friends and play Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know how you play it, so I asked him to invite me over sometime so we can play that. Okay. Okay. When he grows up, he too wants to be a teacher. He wants a job here at Cuyahoga Heights, he says. His message to his parents or his family that's here with him, happy he goes to school here and sad if he went anywhere else. Me too. So, and giving me Lego Chase toy for Valentine's Day, that I love them. So thank you. And his teachers, right? The first grade team is delighted to nominate Michael Byer as Student of the Month for February. Michael has a huge heart. His smile lights up the room and he brings a smile to all those he encounters throughout the day. He is funny and brings joy to others. And Michael is selfless and caring. He is a friend to all and always willing to lend a helping hand to any student or teacher in need. Michael is pleasant to be around and enjoyable to have in class. He is polite and treats everyone with respect and kindness. Michael perseveres on challenging tasks in the classroom and clearly recognizes the hard work he has done when he encounters it. I like that. Success. The joy he feels from that success is contagious, and he wants to share it with everyone. We are proud to have Michael represent our first grade class as Student of the Month. Congratulations, Michael. Yeah, you sit right there, and we're going to get our picture taken. No, well, you're going to go back there in a second, but just right there, we're going to get a picture. Then I'll send you back. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now we'd like to line all the Students of the Month up against the backdrop. Parents, please feel free to come down and take as many photos as you'd like in front of the backdrop, and then we'll take a short break after the Student of the Month recognition and get on with the rest of the meeting.
We're
So.
gonna put the bigger kids in the back, and you two can get up front. So come over here.
What's that?
Are we going, Tom, should we go down?
Yes, board members, please do.
We're going to?
Yes, yes.
Gosh. Want to sneak in there?
Yep, absolutely. That's it. Yep. That's me.
One more, guys. Thank you. Gorgeous.
Oh, no, you thank your teachers. Oh, thank you. Well, thank your teachers. They're the ones who gave you.
Hey, Gary?
Thank you for the VIP event. It was so nice. We all had. a
Thank
great
you. It
time.
was, I'm going to talk about it. I thought it was one of the, as good as it's ever been. I think we think about 900 people. The pictures were the best they've ever been, Mary, as far as getting people through the picture line.
Just went
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay, well,
That's
is
why
it the
Mary's
same
not talking.
context, proposed
She's
legislation?
losing her voice.
Yeah, but it's a very different viewpoint.
Oh.
And
Okay.
I'll report on that last meeting
Okay.
tonight.
Sure.
And then you can decide.
Ready to go, Tom?
Lock and load.
Okay,
Matt Young's
everyone.
always, it's always the skinny guy.
It's too close to that thing. We should be further up. Okay, then. Well, we're all going to get a suntan before we stay there.
So we'll restart things at agenda item number 6. Mr. Muccio, Treasurer's Business, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. I'll ask tonight for items 6A along with 7A through 7I for approval tonight, as presented.
Very good.
Our mic's not working. I'm not hearing anything on the,
Yeah,
I know they're recording. We're not hearing anything on the PA. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Dobbins. Is it working? No?
That's
It's
not,
not working. It's recording. It's just not going through the PA. That's something
So-
we need to fix.
I would like to have a motion to approve the treasurer's consent agenda items, please.
so moved.
Mr. Souchaki moves.
Second.
Ms. Decker gets the second. It was a close one. So is there any discussion, Mr. Muccio? Do you have any
I
updates
just
on
wanted
these
to
items?
point out item 7E. I just wanted to give a congratulations to teacher Barb Curry for her Ohio Space Grant in the amount of $1,000. And as Barb explained it to me, it's for space robots for the elementary school. So just wanted to congratulate Barb on that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Are there any other updates or comments, Mr.? Well, we'll get to the comments piece in a minute. Okay, well then let's move to a vote, please, on the consent agenda items.
Mr. Souchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Deca?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Prouse? Mr. Dobbins?
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Moving on to agenda item number 9, to be treasurer's discussion items and comments.
Just two items tonight. We had a fantastic, I would say, Finance Committee meeting tonight. Mr. Dobbins, Mrs. Deca, Mr. Evans, Mr. Young, we were all there. It was probably the quickest hour of my life. It went by like that. But we got a lot of good work in, and, it was our first meeting since, the pandemic really stopped. So it's nice to see all the faces and new faces that we had. And a lot of work, we have ahead of us, and, a lot of eager people to help out. So just my thoughts. Mr. Dobbins, Mrs. Deca, Mr. Evans, if you guys had any comments on that.
I would echo your comments, and I believe that one of the takeaways from this evening's meeting is that the group would like to meet more frequently and perhaps for a little bit longer period of time. We bit off quite a bit this evening within an hour time frame, and you covered a lot of ground, so thank you. I note in your items here on 9A that you have some excerpts from some recent commentary on the pending HB1. I didn't know if you wanted to go through those or not, or...
Yeah, I flipped them. I was going to talk about that one.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Go, please.
I saw
proceed.
that one. But any other comments on the Finance Committee, or I'll just roll to the other one? Got it. So the other item for discussion tonight is HB1. So this just recently, we were just made aware of some aspects of this a couple days ago. I want to say the 15th, so about a week ago. And HB1 was introduced with a number of potential negative outcomes for school boards. There are essentially three. The first is there is a 10% property tax break resulting in a 10% loss of revenue to local governments beginning in 2025. The legislation would reduce the assessment percentage for taxation by 10%, or from 35% to 31.5%, according to our legal counsel. So let's use an example. So say ABC local school district has a fair market value of $500 million, and the taxable value is $175 million, which is 35% of fair market value. And let's say that school board generates $7 million. Now, according to this change, the very first one, if it's assessed at 31.5% of fair market value, their taxable value is now $157 million, and the revenue to the school board is $6.3 million, not $7 million. So that's a loss of $700,000 or 10% in that example. Second, the 31.5 that's proposed as the assessment percentage can annually change on account of inflation beginning for tax year 2025. So essentially, they're going to always be correcting themselves if it can change every year. That's what it would be. So in the following year, if they have to correct something, they'd have to correct it back and continue going forward doing that. Lastly, third, would be that the legislation eliminates compensation by the state of Ohio to local governments for the rollback as well as the homestead exemption. Now, our rollback is approximately $300,000 that we receive every year. So, let's not think of the first or second aspects of this proposed law, but the third one, and that's just catastrophic to our school district. If we were to lose $300,000 coming to us every year out of our budget.
Where's the rollback come from? What is that?
It's a page in my 5-year forecast. So there's effectively a credit that's given on property taxes that the rollback, the state of Ohio pays that rollback credit that's in place. So that's a line item in the 5-year, it's rolled up in the 5-year forecast on one of those lines, but for that line is $300,000. I'll show you, I can email that to you, Maria, too, to see. But all aspects of this have a significant concern, and we have a meeting tomorrow with the first ring superintendents and treasurers. The Alliance for High Quality is going to meet. I emailed out a couple other treasurers, and I have their content as well, that this will bankrupt every school district, and they're greatly concerned with the impact this proposed law change will have on all of our school budgets. And I know this Friday I'm meeting with area treasurers to talk more about this as well. So this just, again, came within the past week, but there's a great concern how it would negatively impact our finances going forward. So I just wanted to make everybody aware, and we're starting to understand aspects of this law and peel back the layers of the onion just to see what impact it would have. And we'll report out more, Mr. Evans and myself, as we learn more about this too. But initially, it's very unfavorable.
This annual adjustment, Matt,
Yes.
is it going to be in step with inflation, or is it going to counteract inflation?
Let's see.
Another-
Inflation will annually reduce the current year adjustment percentage.
Okay, so it goes down, so as our expenses go up, the income goes down.
Yeah. So annually, the
Wonderful.
tax commissioner will be required to calculate to the assessment percentage for the current year tax and compare it to prior year assessment percentages to adjust for inflation that would be in place. So it's that constant moving, so any annual adjustments to the assessment percentage on account of inflation may not correspond to changes in real property valuation that would be in place. So that second aspect is just constantly changing along with it. But it's really the first and third aspects of this law where that example from our legal counsel, which just shows, going from 35 to 31.5% could be a 10% reduction of expenses. And I've confirmed that it is Class 1 and Class 2. And a lot of these organizations are building simulations and models to show exactly what that loss would be to local government entities and school districts, so villages, townships, cities, along with school districts. So they're working to crunch the numbers. And again, this just came out within a week from today, essentially, that we're starting to learn a lot of the details. And we'll have a lot more to report coming up, but this is just, coming to the forefront of something we're going to have to learn more about and tackle, with our voices out there as we go. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Muccio. Please keep us informed as you and Mr. Evans learn of new developments of this statute or this proposed law. It's very important, obviously, to our district and so many of us across the state.
Just one follow-up question in this. This doesn't impact people personally, like residents personally. It doesn't reduce their taxes at all. It just is assessing,
Oh, it does.
giving less
It will
money
reduce your
to.
taxes.
Yes, it appears that it would reduce taxes to individuals, but as a result, government entities will receive less. So less taxes for residents equates to less money going out to government entities as a school district. So
It's not just school districts, it's your villages, townships,
Right.
County.
all local governments as well. So I've got to believe that the uprising is just kind of getting going. Matt and I have a Zoom with a group through the ESC tomorrow on this very topic, and I know that it's, I think I'm on it with the Alliance on Friday, and I think this is the largest part of the agenda Friday is this discussion. Every group that we're a member of is opposed to this, quite obviously. But I think right now they're just kind of rallying the troops to, and one of the dangerous parts about this is I think that they look to add this proposal to the state budget. So then it would get approved as part of the state budget. So there's going to be some fighting to go on here with this as we move forward.
Does anybody know the impetus for this? What prompted this?
No, because quite honestly, the legislator that proposed it in the past has been, based on what I read, someone that's relatively a proponent for school districts, and now this hurts every school district in the state of Ohio. So they didn't have a lot of answers, and a lot of legislators, when asked point blank about the impact of it, didn't have answers. Who signed on to the bill? So they didn't. They put their names on it, and I don't think they have a thorough understanding of the impact that this can have throughout the state. So.
Unless they have some kind of thought that this reduction would, the monies would come from some other source.
Yeah, the taxpayer, that's how they tell you in it, you gotta pass levies to make up the difference. I mean, they point blank say that in their proposal that the difference to be made up by the taxpayer is by passing levies. So more burden on districts, more burden on municipalities to pass levies that.
But I'm saying, like, they're taking from one state pocket,
Yeah, but then they can say
but they're not giving it
Right.
from
say
another.
they reduce taxes.
Right.
And we have to be the ones to go and say, we need to make sure.
Yeah.
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Muccio. Are there any other discussion items for you this evening?
all. Thank you
Okay,
very
well,
much.
again, thank you for your participation and leadership at the Finance Committee. I thought it was a real productive session. Moving on to agenda item number 10, Superintendent's Business. Mr. Evans?
I asked that the items in item 10, Superintendent's Business General, 11, Superintendent's Business Employment Supplemental Positions, and 12, Superintendent Business Employment Substitute and Volunteers, and 13, Superintendent's Business Agreements, Contracts, and Memberships be approved as a part of the consent agenda.
Okay, very good. So may I have a motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda items, please?
So moved.
Ms. Decker moves.
Second.
Mr. Sujaki seconds. Mr. Evans, any discussion on these
School
items?
calendar for next year, I have hats off to Matt Young, who really, in my absence, picked up the slack and made sure that that school calendar got done. If you took a look at that, you'll see that and we talked about this all year, that we have to build additional days for professional development in that. We're able to do that for next year as well with some of the increased requirements on the state end of it. So that's a big part of this. Our middle school program of studies, thank Mr. DeTrey on that one. College Credit Plus agreement with Kent State Standard. Our approval with the Educational Service Center in Northeast Ohio, that's our standard agreement that we approve with them. If you saw the other part of that, I know Mr. Dobbins asked maybe when I was out, the other part's kind of a la carte. Now, we didn't see items checked off on us. When we kind of use the ESC services a la carte as needed. The ESC, every school district has to be a member of an ESC. The ESC in North, and we can go to any ESC we want to, so we can go to Summit, Lake, whatever. Our ESC here in Independence is the second or third largest in the state of Ohio because Akron's a part of it and some Lake County schools. And you can be members of multiple ESCs, and we talked about that because different ESCs have different offerings. We know that Lorain County ESC is high in some of their tech support, so different ESCs specialize in different things. But ESC does a great service for us moving forward. The lightning event, that's for our timing for the track meets coming up. So those are some of the items that I ask on the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments or questions for Mr. Evans, we can move to a vote, please.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Prowse?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye, the motion passes 5-0. Item number 15, Superintendent's discussion comments. Mr. Evans?
I'd like to start out by just thanking everybody for, especially the administrative team, for stepping up in my absence. My lack of nimbleness put my administrative team in a tough spot, and they all stepped up and did above and beyond, and didn't miss a beat. Mr. Young, Mr. DeTrey here, Mr. Moore, and all the administrative team really did a great job, and I can't thank them enough. I pulled the OHSAA approval. That'll reappear in March. Up until COVID, our membership was free in the OHSAA, and that was the motion that Mrs. Deal brought through. During COVID, because of the lack of events that took place, the state proposed and was accepted that they charge $50 per sport to the schools. My understanding was that that was going to go away as COVID ended, and when I looked at the proposal, actually Mrs. Prowse caught it, it is not, they have not taken that off. So I'll put that back on. What does that mean to us? That's about $850. I think we have 17 varsity sports, but I want to have that exact number for you at the next board meeting. That doesn't have to be until June. That's just our designation, our resolution, that we will be members of the OHSAA. So, tuition increase discussion. I've sent a couple mailings out. I did have a concerned parent come in and talk to me. Her primary concern was about the time we gave them to implement the increase. She was very complimentary of what we did over COVID as far as getting notice out. So she wasn't as concerned about the amount of the increase as opposed to the lack of preparation for it. She had multiple children in the district. I said I would bring that to the board and make sure I mention it. I have one additional parent that wants to discuss it with me, but those are the two parents that I've heard from. I try to do a little better job in my second mailing to explain our history of the tuition program and what brought about that increase in that, but I'll be reaching out to that second parent to discuss with them also. Legislation, the budget bill, backpack bill, elimination of State Board of Education, some stuff in that's still the backpack bill is really concerning, as well as this House Bill 1. The backpack bill, they're starting to tack numbers to that. As I said in the Finance Committee meeting, the backpack bill, if passed, one group will tell you that's going to cost in the millions range, and another group will tell you that they estimate that to be $1.2 billion out of the state coffers. That's got to come from somewhere, and they're saying it's not going to impact publication. Well, that's not true. At some point, it will impact us, the passage of that. So we're certainly, a lot of groups mobilizing to try to get on board. It's going to get increasingly difficult. And quite honestly, the backpack kind of split the Republicans last time. Right now, they have a supermajority, so if they were in step with each other, they would get this through without any issue, and it would be non-vetoable because it's just too many votes on it. But so all the organizations that we're a member of are working hard on these items. I'll be in Columbus in March, if you approve that later on in the meeting, to meet with legislators along with the superintendents from around the state to have these discussions. I'd like to have a presentation coming up. Hopefully we can get it done in March from Mr. Mucci and I will take. I sent you that email from the Mohawk School District about their presentation. And quite honestly, I outlined this in the Finance Committee meeting about the number of different ways that we're getting hurt by the state. Our per pupil funding, some of the legislation that's been proposed, and just to outline our removal of the TPP, the phase out of that. But I'd really like to lay this out. I'd like to invite Senator Dolan and our representatives, and as well as council, as mayors and council, and just go through this item by item to show, because it's not a matter of not helping us, it's a matter of hurting us. So it'd be different if we were just kind of holding neutral. We're, as I said in the Finance Committee, we're kind of getting kicked in the pants every way we can on this. And we're a top-performing district in the state. We're in the top 5% of every metric in the state of Ohio. And we kind of break the theory that you have to be a high median income district to be a high-performing district. And we're still thought of in Columbus, unfortunately. I overheard a legislator said, you're from that little rich district. They look at us like we're a Bexley or we're a Beechwood. We're not. We don't have that type of median income here in our district. So we're kind of the curve breakers on some of that stuff. So it is important that we get our message out, and we will invite as many of those people as possible. And I may ask some of you board members to jump on with invitations as well to some of those local officials, as Mr. Muccio and I spent some time to put some of these. And we're going to try and bullet point this to make it concise. Just these are things that we just can't survive as a district if the state continues to do these things to us. So, no school on May 17th. In the past, the day the district track meet's been a half day, an early release day. This year, the district board came to us. They have a little bit of an anomaly with some school districts' facilities not ready. They're asking us to run 2 districts simultaneously. So instead of being a half day, we're going to close school for the whole day so we can start that meet earlier. So we'll have side-by-side track meets going on at the same time. Quite honestly, I didn't bat an eyelash at this. We haven't had a calamity day. We haven't had a snow day. Our kids have been great about it. They'll make a comment going by the room every now and again, but we're working towards that. And that double district, this is a one-time event. Other school districts have said we'll take a district meet back next year, but this Northeast District Board got in a little bit of a bind here. They know we do a great job of running the meets here, so we're going to actually do 2 of them simultaneously here. Good luck to the winter sports that are still competing. Boys basketball, sectional final this Friday at home against Manchester. Wrestling this Saturday, sectionals at Independence. Boys bowling, first time in school history, our boys bowling has moved on to the district meet. Good luck to them this week in their hopes to try to qualify for the state meet. Girls individual bowlers, I think only 4 individual bowlers qualify as individuals. 3 of those 4 are from our school, so they'll be bowling to get to the state meet as individuals this weekend as well. Congratulations to the swimmers that finished up at the districts this past weekend down at Cleveland State. Mr. Roy said the last 2 weeks with sectionals and districts, almost everybody and every relay team had personal bests for the season. So great job by the swimmers. And also congratulations to the girls basketball team. They finished at home last weekend, I think, with 16 wins on the season. Had a very, very good year. I also want to thank everybody, as I was blasting everybody with emails that about Conroy, and she did end up winning the outstanding senior basketball player. So a lot of great things happening. Mr. Murray told me that they'll know this Sunday about indoor track. I think they have 4 potential students that can qualify for the state indoor track meet coming up. So that's done a little bit differently. That's not done by qualifiers. That's done by times and whatever around the state. So upcoming Hillside study presentation by GPD. We met with them today. They're trying to finalize some numbers for us. We want to give the board, we're going to present this as several different scenarios on the Hillside study. We'd like to do this with the board at a work session and also with the BEST committee. And, Mrs. Snyder had mentioned the VIP day, several emails. Hats off to Mr. Kiefer, Mr. Young in the group, Mr. Bertoloni. We put the T back in PTO. Mr. Bertoloni was our teacher liaison and did a fantastic job. We had, Mr. Young estimates over 900 people in the building that Friday. It was seamless. No line for pictures, lots of smiling faces. As a matter of fact, people were worried about it going overtime because there was no line for pictures this year. It actually got done kind of under time, and the students got, and we do that for the VIPs and we're going to do that for the grandparents. But I think, as I said to Mrs. Prowse, I said, the kids get a big kick out of that as anybody because they love showing off their stuff. And the smiles on the kids' faces as they were dragging a parent or someone around to show them what they were doing in class in the different stations, it just outstanding stuff. So great job by all on the VIP day. So that's my list of things there. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you and the team. Moving on to agenda item number 16, board business resolutions. I would make a motion to approve Mr. Evans to attend the First Ring Schools Collaborative advocacy trip to Columbus taking place on March 21 through 23rd, 2023. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Second, Ms. Decker? Okay, is there any discussion, Mr. Evans?
We've already got a schedule for that. We've got a list of all the legislators that have been invited, and what I thought was going to be just the first ring appears to me now looks like it's going to be more spread statewide. So I think they've invited legislators from around the state. So we're going to have several different opportunities to meet with our legislators. There's going to be time as a group, and there's going to be some individual time. So I look forward to that as well. Just one more chance to advocate to some of our, especially with some of the recent concerns that have arisen as well. So thank the board for that.
Sure. Okay, well, if there's no other discussion or comment, we can move to a vote then, please.
Mr. Dobbins.
Aye.
Mrs. Decker.
Aye.
Mrs. Etter.
Aye.
Mr. Suchaki.
Aye.
Ms. Prowse.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to agenda item 18, board discussion committee reports and comments. Does anyone have any comments this evening?
I have a lot from the Career Center.
Okay.
Career Center's meeting is tomorrow night. Once again, we're a day ahead, so I can't report on what we're doing tomorrow, obviously, because I can't foretell the future. However, I can foretell that we will be down 2 board members because both board members from the Revere District are leaving the board at the Career Center. Mike Cahoe, who is, when he was elected, I believe was the youngest person in the state of Ohio to be elected to an office because he was still a senior in high school when he was elected to his local board. He is now moving into Columbus to be part of the Department of Education. That is, I believe, is, I don't have any details on it. I'll get more tomorrow. But tomorrow is his last meeting. He's going to be resigning. Also, their rotating member is also from Revere this year. It's Bobby Bashira. Bobby is a mayor of one of the communities, and somebody, legal looked into it and said that sounds like a conflict of interest, so she's been unappointed. So, they're losing both of their representatives as of this week. That's the first item on my list. Second item on my list is we are also losing, in case you hadn't heard, Jennifer Hedinger. Yes.
Yes.
Our career specialist, who's employed by the Career Center to be in our school on a half-time basis, basically.
Correct. Part-time basis.
Part-time basis, is resigning to relocate to North Carolina.
Carolinas, yes.
Yep, they have property there,
Yes, they do.
and apparently they were kind of hoping to end up there, and she has a new job in North Carolina, so they're going, and her husband will find work and follow. So that'll be on our agenda to accept her resignation and to start the search for a replacement. Third thing, we got a report that will be delivered in tomorrow's meeting, which I thought I'd bring to you today because I think you'd enjoy it. We have a withdrawal report. I believe it's every semester we get a withdrawal report because, of course, at the Career Center, people don't have to stay there. They can leave as long as they remain a student in the district, right? Well, there we track the percents of people who have withdrawn this year from the Career Center and are going back to their home district. In this is really small print. 4.6% of the students in Cuyahoga Heights, a total of 5, have withdrawn from the Career Center. That is the lowest number by quite a bit, and in fact, one of the districts had a 39% withdrawal rate. So at 4.6%, we have the best retention rate of all the districts in the Career Center. And speaking of legislative conferences, I did attend for the Career Center Legislative Conference in Columbus a couple of weeks ago. That's why we had to move that board meeting 2 weeks ago. And I thought I would briefly review with you, if I can find it, the proposals that are being pushed by the Career Center group. Fair funding, facilities, teacher shortage, and the reorganization of the Ohio Department of Education were kind of the 4 things that were being discussed by the career technical centers during that legislative meeting. Fair funding, they wanted to recommend eliminating the phase-in for weighted funding, and that the state should create a floor for the state share in this funding. On CTE facilities, career technical education facilities, they simply want more. That's easy, right? Teacher licensure is a real problem in the Career Center. I didn't realize this, but you're going to hire people who don't necessarily have a college education background to work at a Career Center. You're going to hire somebody who spent the last 20 years repairing automobiles, doing HVAC, construction, and so on. Well, they have to somehow learn how to be teachers in order to convey the information they have. Currently, they have to take 24 credit hours over, I think it's a 2-year period, in order to become qualified and maintain the job. They kind of get hired on a trial basis.
Yeah, they get their initial licensure, and then they have 24 to finish. The first is a class on methods generally taught at Kent State University, which is about writing lesson plans and curriculum. It's very, very intensive. It's called a Route B certification, but it allows the industry people to gain their teacher licensure. And then the remainder of the 24 hours is on finance and student clubs and those types of things, and classroom management. But the initial class is very, very intensive. As a former administrator in a Career Center, I spent countless hours with new employees during the summer, because it's usually held during the summer, and they're out at Kent for 8 hours or 9 hours a day, and then spend another 2 or 3 hours writing lesson plans at night. So you really find out quickly whether or not they want to be an educator or not going through that program. So.
This group is trying to push the group, the Career and Technical Education Association is trying to seek other options to get that information so that they don't have the full 24 hours worth of training, that they can get some of that online, in-house, some other way other than going strictly to the colleges. So they're trying to get a little bit of flexibility in that requirement. And then the reorganization of the Ohio Department of Education, because that new department under the governor would be a Department of Education and Workforce. The organization is encouraging that change because they feel it'll be better for the career centers to have that ear closer to the governor's office.
There'd be 2 different directors under that system. The governor would appoint a director for the workforce part of it, and then a director for the K-12 part of it.
Right, so the K-12 part was not addressed.
Yeah.
They want to see the workforce director happen. and therefore, since the two are joined at the hip, they are in favor of that. So those are the points that were made with our legislators. There are 8 legislators that cover the Career Center, which sounds like a lot, but because of redistricting, it got cut in half this year. There used to be 16 separate legislators attached to the Career Center because we cover so many school districts. That kind of summarizes that meeting. It was an interesting meeting, a good meeting. We only got a chance to meet with one legislator. Everybody else we met with with staff members, but we did talk to 8 people while we were down there. So it was a good session. I hadn't done one of those in a long time. Mr. Evans, you and I did one with you.
Yeah.
Probably 7 or 8 years ago. It's been long, maybe longer.
Yeah, we met with Matt Dolan and.
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
meeting with Matt. We were not able to meet with Matt this time, although they did say hello to him in the hallway, close as we got. He was busy. So, and that concludes my report. I will have more updates after our tomorrow night's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sojaki. I do have one follow-up question to the meeting that you attended on behalf of the Career Center. Was there a conversation there among the representatives that had to do with whether the ODE moving underneath the governor's direction is consistent with Ohio's Constitution? I'd read somewhere that back in the 1950s, I believe, that there may have been some type of prohibition on, or that there'd been a mandate that that agency remain an independent body within Ohio government? Was there any discussion about
There was a
that?
little bit of discussion, and I hate to go into great
Yeah, I
detail
don't wanna
because I
get
don't
buried
think
in the
I'm the
weeds.
right person to do that.
Okay.
But it is in the Constitution that there must be a director or a Board of Education. I think there has to be a director of the Board of Education. I
Right.
think is the way it's phrased. So that position has to remain,
Mm-hmm.
and it's separate from the governor's office.
Oh, okay, so maybe the functionality then is what's talking about being transferred?
But it's the
And
functionality that changes, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's
Yeah.
how, okay.
So the position remains, but there's nothing that, as far as I understand, in the Constitution that says, here are the responsibilities they get to handle.
Okay,
Primarily licensure, teacher licensure, based on what I've seen in the literature that's come out, is that the state board would be left, and the state director of the Ohio Department of Education would oversee teacher licensure, and that would be it.
Which sounds like a very small task for a very
Yeah,
large group
the
of
curriculum and a lot of
elected
other things would move to the other 2 directors.
okay,
officials.
thank
I
you.
can understand where local districts might feel very differently than the career centers.
Right,
And I, I'm not, don't want to start any battles here, but I could see where local districts might take a very different approach to that issue.
And one of the arguments on the other end of that is that the governor already appoints 8 of the school
Right.
board members. So, you
Yeah,
know,
and he's been careful to make sure that
Yeah.
they're in alignment with what he wants to achieve, so.
What's that? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I thought I'd read a number of articles that was trying to highlight the constitutional perspective of this conversation, and I appreciate your adding a little finer point to it of how this might happen and square with what I understand to be in the Constitution.
Right, but the emphasis on workforce is really good.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the best way to achieve it,
Right.
is that a good thing? If the Board of Education is broken, the State Board of Education is broken, and I heard that from representatives who said, they're worthless. I send them a message, I don't ever get responses from them. Okay, well, that was your position, Mr. Representative, but one of the people at the meeting did become quite incensed over this position being taken and said, if the State Board of Education isn't getting the job done, why don't you go fix it? You don't have to replace it, fix it, right? So it's not like everybody in the room was in sync with the objectives of the OTCE, which is the body that the career centers belong to, like their version of the OSBA. So.
Okay. All right, thank you for that update. I appreciate it in the background. I've got a few items. I think I'll go in reverse order. Mr. Evans had sent an email to the board members that I think was going to request some discussion around a piece of litigation that's pending right now that, as I understand it, addresses the constitutionality of vouchers as a principle. I've watched the 20-minute presentation that's embedded within that email. It was very interesting. I'd encourage everybody else who's not had a chance to read that. And I, at some point, I look forward to a conversation with my fellow board members and with Mr. Evans and Mr. Muccio and any others administrators who would like to engage in that dialogue.
Apologize, I meant to add that onto my items. I think it's, I initially talked about the equity and adequacy of school funding when the lawsuit came out, and I was kind of at a wait and see. Quite honestly, they had several hurdles to get over. I think they've gotten over those hurdles, and I think now would be the time for us as a Board of Education to take a look at joining into that piece of litigation and become a member of that group. It's $2 per student, so we're looking at $1,700 to be. There's over 100 schools that are members of it right now. So, but it has. They are going to get in court. So initially, I thought, I don't know if this is going to get legs or not, and it has. So.
Okay. I thought it was I read your email, and then I also read the attached link in the presentation, and I think it's a very thoughtful approach and analysis of the issues. And I encourage a dialogue and a conversation among ourselves and others in the community on this very topic. And Mr. Evans, do you have any type of a timeline or time frame as to when you might want to move forward with a more robust conversation?
I'll get some more literature to the board. We'll discuss it at the March work session. Okay. And then if the board wants to act on it, we can act on it at the second meeting of March.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a very busy work session.
The equity and adequacy it's just kind of an update as to where they're at and what their goals are, kind of thing. I think the more I think we'll be fine.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that we couldn't handle. I just meant that we've made a couple of references this evening to items being added.
Mr. Muccio didn't even kick me when I gave him a homework assignment tonight. I thought it was on the table.
Well, thank you.
He didn't kick me, so.
We've got room down here, Mr. Muccio. So, thank you for that. I appreciate that background. So we'll kind of look forward to maybe a more robust conversation and dialogue about the merits of that particular lawsuit and our district joining or not joining, perhaps at the next work session. The other items pertain to our calendars, our respective calendars. There was an email that we received from OSBA that was requesting board members' participation at, and I don't have the exact term, but it's something along the lines of a legislative update conference. And that meeting, I believe, is March 23rd, and I believe that coincides with some of the meetings you're having, Mr.
Correct.
Evans, and we just approved you to attend.
Yeah, it piggybacks off of the meetings that I'll be down for.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have more than one schedule conflict on the 23rd of March, so if that date is accurate, I am a little bit going from memory, but if that is accurate, I wouldn't be able to attend, so I'd invite any of the other board members that are available and interested to, we would need to act on that at the work session. I know we typically don't like to do business then, but I think we'd have to approve it at the work session if board members are interested. And I think OSBA is also interested in knowing what type of response they're getting to this invitation. And as Mr. Suchaki said, I recall attending a meeting with you, Mr. Evans, and Mr. Suchaki, myself, Mr. Dolan, and meeting with Senator Dolan, and I believe that was in the context of was it a meeting among board members and legislators? That
Correct.
was kind of the backdrop, and then we had kind of a one-on-one meeting subsequent meeting with Mr. Dolan that day.
OSBA tends to get the ear of the legislators. They tend to have one of the loudest voices in Columbus. As I said to Mr. Dobbins, generally the legislative turnout for that is good, but there are no guarantees. Very oftentimes in the past, we've made arrangements to meet with legislators, got to Columbus, and they no-showed on us, but for a variety of reasons. But OSBA tends to get their ears, so I said to Mr. Dobbins that would be something if a member could get down there, maybe it might be a worthwhile event to attend.
Well, and this is all in the backdrop is all of the very significant legislation or legislative proposals that you and Mr. Muccio outlined earlier this evening. These are all, as I understand it, active, potentially viable pieces of legislation that are being considered and for which we might have an opinion. So it might behoove us to attend if we can. But if it's the 23rd, I'm pretty certain that I have conflicts on that day. The other item for our calendars is one of our board members has a conflict with the meeting on May 10th. We're a little bit, although it's a little bit early, time flies. And I'm just curious to know if there would be a conflict if we were to move that meeting to the previous Wednesday, April 26th. So if you want to look at your calendars, and maybe we can discuss it between now and the March,
You said May
Are
10th.
you moving it 2 weeks?
You moved it
That
to-
sounds like,
oh, I'm sorry, to May 3rd. I apologize. To May 3rd, does that work?
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought it's a May 10th, I believe, is the board meeting, and then a week prior would be May 3rd, yeah. My bad.
right, wrote it down.
Which one?
I would have written down already that we're moving it.
Oh, great, perfect.
Are we moving it?
Well, if we can, if it works for everyone and it's not otherwise a conflict for the administrative team, we could take care of that pretty easily.
Sorry, I'd have to go check. I forgot to.
Well,
bring
yeah,
my
no,
calendar with
that's
me.
fine. That's why we have plenty of time, and I want to have these conversations early as opposed to waiting to the last minute and scrambling. So, okay, those are the items I had, is moving the, I believe it's the May 10th meeting to be the prior Wednesday, May 3rd, and just have everybody check their calendars, and maybe at the next board meeting, we can just see if that works for everyone.
We would fall in between the orchestra concert on Tuesday night and the band concert on Thursday night.
Be a busy week.
Yeah, it's a busy week, is right. Yep. Okay, I don't have anything else. Do any of the board members have anything else for the group?
I can give a quick update on the bus committee
Please,
last week.
please.
We met Mr. Dobbins and Mr. Suchaki and I were there last Thursday. We talked about the facilities and the tours that were held. We went through the items that GPD identified as things that were in immediate need of repair and then things that could wait. And we went through an exercise as a group and prioritized, each individual group kind of prioritized what they thought were more immediate needs or more wants, on the farther end. And went through each building and looked at things electrical to HVAC to carpeting to lighting, all that. It was a very productive meeting. It was a good discussion we had. And I think we'll continue that discussion at the next meeting in March.
Thank you, Mrs. Decker. Okay, with that, I'm going to move to agenda item number 19. Are there any other agenda items? We've kind of touched upon the need to look at our calendars and perhaps to approve or consider a motion to approve one or more board members to attend that OSBA legislative meeting. Are there any other items that we would want to talk about or think about as future agenda items? If not, then we're going to move to agenda item 20A. It should be noted that Board of Education members received their agendas several days prior to the actual meeting. Thus, they have had considerable opportunity to study it, ask questions, etc. 20B, upcoming meetings. Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 is a work session at 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 is a regular meeting at 7 p.m. Wednesday, April 5th, is a work session at 6 p.m., and Wednesday, April 19th, is a regular meeting at 7 p.m. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Strachey moves, I'll second.
We're all reluctant tonight.
Okay, let's see. There's no other discussion, let's move to a vote.
Mr. Stuchaki?
Aye.
Mr. Dobbins?
Aye.
Mrs. Decker?
Aye.
Mrs. Etter?
Aye.
Ms. Press?
Motion passes 5-0. It is 8:14 p.m., and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Mrs. Kometz, can I see you for a second before you leave?